Hi, Lindsay, the insurance girl. Today I want to talk a little bit more about original Medicare and what is the problem with it. So I just want to review a little bit first. We have two pieces of original Medicare. Part A of Medicare is your hospital coverage. Part B is your medical coverage. And that is something that most people get around the time they turn 65. If they delay it, it might be a little bit later, or some people get it under certain circumstances a little bit earlier for different reasons. But a lot of people get it when they turn 65. So what is the problem with original Medicare? Why can't we just be happy that we have health insurance and live our best lives? I'll tell you why. It's health insurance, it's just not very good health insurance at all. So let's first start with the problems with Part A, the hospital coverage. There is a very high deductible that resets every benefit period, which is about every 60 days. That deductible is $1,640. So let me give you an example of exactly what I mean. Let's say on January 1st, you catch pneumonia and you have to go to the hospital. Day one in the hospital, you automatically owe $1,640. You get out of the hospital, you're recovering, things are going pretty well. In April, you're walking along the sidewalk, you suddenly trip and you break your leg. Back in the hospital. There you go. Guess what? Day one in the hospital in April, $1,640, because that benefit period has reset and you now have to pay another deductible. You get better, your leg has healed, you decide to take a trip to Hawaii to celebrate the fact that you can walk again. You're out there swimming in the ocean, living your best life, and you get bit by a shark. Here we go again, hospitalized, $1,640. Just when you think it can't get any worse. In October, is that 60 days later? Your shark bite gets infected and you have to go back to the hospital. $1,640. You see what I'm saying? It adds up really quickly, and that is a high deductible. Not many people just have an extra $1,640 sitting around ready to pay the hospital every single time they have to get hospitalized. That's not the only problem with the hospital coverage. Let's say that shark bite gets so infected, you have to stay in the hospital for a very long time, like past 60 days. Well, once you hit day 61, you have to start paying a daily coinsurance of over $400 a day to stay in the hospital. That shark bite is so infected that you have to stay even longer than that. Well, that daily coinsurance goes up to over $800 a day at a certain point, and then goes up to the full cost of the hospital stay. That is so much money, all because a shark decided that you looked yummy. First of all, don't swim in shark-infested waters. But second of all, seriously reconsider just sticking with the original Medicare. There are more reasons why this is a bad idea. Let's jump over to the medical side of the issue, the Part B. Part B, your deductible is only $240 a year. So that is way more manageable than $1,640 every benefit period. Yes, that's true. However, with Part B, you are now responsible for 20% of all of the bills. 20% of your doctor's visit, that might not be too bad. 20% of a blood test might not be too bad. 20% of an MRI, that's gonna be a lot of money. 20% of all of your all of your medical bills, you are responsible for Part B. And there's more problems with original Medicare. There is no prescription drug coverage with original Medicare. None, nothing, nada. Do you know how expensive prescription drugs are? Let me tell you a quick story. When my daughter was about 3 years old, she got a wart right there on the tip of her nose. She named him David. I don't know why. We never quite knew. But I hated David, hated him with a passion. I did everything I could think of to get rid of him, to get him off of her body. Every old wives' tale, every random thing I could find on the internet. I took her to doctors, I took her to specialists. Finally, I took her to a children's dermatologist at the Children's Hospital here in Denver. they prescribed her with some sort of cream to put on this disgusting little David that was hanging out on her body. I go to the pharmacy to pick up the prescription. I'm finally so grateful that something is going to get this thing off of my child's face. And the pharmacist slides it over and says, "You realize that's $800, right?" And I said, "800 what?" And she said, $800. $800 for some cream to get rid of a wart named David. Well, I about burst into tears and said, I am not paying $800. And by the way, I have health insurance. And she said, yeah, that's after what your health insurance pays. I don't know how much that cream was without health insurance, but that's what it was with health insurance. So this is why we need someone else to be paying for our prescription drugs. And this is why original Medicare, not a good plan, doesn't have any prescription drug coverage. So if you end up with a David on your face, you're going to be really out of luck. The last problem with original Medicare is that there is no maximum out of pocket whatsoever. None. Zero zip, none. So if you were to have the worst possible medical year of your life, and you get pneumonia, and you break your leg, and you get bitten by a shark, and your shark bite gets infected, and you get a wart named David, all of those costs are going to be your responsibility to pay for. There is no end. There is nothing that will cap it. You will have to pay for all of those expenses. So this is why original Medicare is a bad plan. But don't worry, I have the solution. There are two really great solutions actually, and I will talk about them in depth. So like and subscribe and keep following me for more Medicare tips and tricks.